And I'll give you the link here in a second, but I'll probably give it to you through Facebook. Control C. And it seems like it'd be really complicated. I'm probably making it very complicated, but okay, here comes the link on the Facebook chat. Getting. Oh yeah, that's not supposed to be a photo. It's supposed to be you moving around. I think my uh, desktop presenter is open. Oops, I got that echo again. Yeah. Oops. I want BND. I want color LCD. Select. So, oops. Select screen region. Change region. And I'm probably doing this live. Excuse us while we fight with the technology. In the old days, they used to put up a slate on TV. It said technical difficulties. If they wanted to be cute about it, they would put up a enter. All right, you should be moving now, but you'll have like a 20-second delay. No, it's not moving. Yeah, something is not working right. How about I just do this one? I'm working with color LCD source window state. Here we go. All right, that's working, I think. No. Well, I may just, yeah, something is locking up on us. Hmm. Well, anyway, maybe it'll just be a voice phone call instead of a video call. Not as entertaining. Well, mainly we got the festival we went to last year, and the one we went to, the one coming up this year. First off, who are you and what do you do? Or as you asked me at the festival when we first met, what is your mission? Yeah, and right now I just realized what video I'm showing is like the snow outside my window. It's been a kind of a harsh winter, and it's the off season at Route 66. Um, but still people are keeping in touch, mostly online and everything else like that. And there's a lot of people out there who are doing things like patching and repairing and getting things ready for people. There's a lot of dedication to this road. I mean, that's a lot for a piece of asphalt. Yeah, it's perfect time for hitting the southwestern part of the route because it's always summer down there for the most part. Um, yeah, yeah, they've had the same kind of winter. Um, well, my wife and I, we've been getting into some of this spirituality stuff, and one of the things about that is it's wonderful to go visit somebody like probably one of the most memorable people to me now is in Gay Parita, Gary Turner, and all up and down. That is definitely true. Yeah, I've when you go down there, I mean, when you go anywhere on the route, you mention anything, it seems like almost out of the blue, people have been like, "Have you been to Gay Parita?" And also, I don't want to put anybody above anybody else, but it's like there's also Angel. I always say his that last name wrong, but you know who I'm talking about, Angel Delgadillo. Delgadillo, yeah. I've heard it both ways, so that's how I get confused. I've heard it many, many different ways. But we got to meet him once last year, and I got my hair cut, which is such a rare treat. And yeah, it's a total honor. And I don't know if asking him to do that or whatever, if he gets asked to do that every day, or if or if he just does that for some people, or what, or it's even right to ask. But I did say, what's that? Yeah, yeah. I started something that day because I went in and then there was like a line formed behind me. Like, he cuts hair? I'm like, yeah, he's a barber. And he said he enjoyed it, but I had actually kind of grown my hair out for that, and I don't have that much hair to worry about anyway. So, and we were trying to shoot video, and it's like I'm the one with the video skills, and my wife was kind of like shooting video, so we didn't really get very good video of it. Asking him questions on the way, and I'm sure he gets asked a million questions every day. What did he say? He said he's been interviewed, I don't know how many times for television, but it was in the thousands since he started. I mean, for anybody who might watch this who's unfamiliar, who are some of these people we're talking about? I mean, who are they to you? Well, what makes them an icon? I mean, many people think of an icon as a thing on the road, but we're talking about people, living people. Mm. Yeah. So, what about you? What makes? I mean, you are an icon. I heard about you from Kumar, and Kumar is another icon. Um, yeah, we met him. We wanted to stay in some physical icons, which were the wigwams, and his family owns the one in. Everybody gets confused, Rialto or San Bernardino. I think it's technically one way it's San Bernardino, but by zip code it's Rialto. And so, when we talked to Kumar, actually I got an interview, and he said, and then there's Rich Dinkla. He paints the shields, and then we talked to, we went to McDonald's, the site of the original McDonald's in San Bernardino, and they were talking about. It said this kid who paints the shields. I don't think the artist who was painting the mural knew exactly your name, and he referred to you as this kid who's painting the shields up and down. I don't know if he was referring to you or if it was. In my mind, I was putting it together with what Kumar said, and then my wife and I finally got to meet you in Joplin this year or last year now. Yeah, and you've even kind of taken it on the chin for doing that. You've actually been arrested for doing that, or is that something that's kind of perpetuating a myth? But you've been pulled over, or the police wanted to know what you were doing. They thought maybe you were spraying graffiti. Hmm. Oops. Did somebody happen to get a picture of that? That is so cool. Well, I hope that won't happen because I think that, this preservation effort for people, I'm guessing, what, you're in your 20s now? Or maybe you're a little older? Oh, all right, well, sorry. But, I mean, essentially we are a younger generation. There's been people who have passed that I haven't been able to meet that I've heard about. Um, and, it's important to pass on from one generation to another what this is about and what the road is. And it's not just Route 66, it's starting to spread out. Um, right outside of our house here in Kansas City, we have Jefferson Highway. And I've been thinking about what you're doing and, maybe even copying what you're doing and possibly figuring out a way we could paint. I guess Jefferson Highway's shtick is to paint telephone poles with the Jefferson Highway logo. Oops, I think I've lost your audio. Oh, it's probably just me on this end. I think I still have it. It's probably just me on this end. Well, unfortunately, I can't hear you very well. I can hear you now. Yeah, I had to unplug something. Oops. Oops. There's all sorts of stuff going on here that's just kind of like, ooh, let me get rid of this echo. Technical nightmare. I'm trying to make it into a little tiny box, but unfortunately it's not working as well as I like. It's a work in progress. But sorry. You were saying?
Back to the Jefferson Highway thing, I believe there's somebody out there already painting telephone poles. He's got a blue and white stencil. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and speaking about that, when we talked about it, you said there was a technical problem with that in certain types of weather, you're trying to figure out the right combinations of paint and things that might last longer. And you said that you've actually had better luck in cold weather versus warm weather?
Yeah, the kind of paint I'm using, which for some reason, some phenomenon, it's supposed to dry up almost instantaneous in warmer weather. For some reason, it takes forever to dry in warm weather. It's taken as long as 20 minutes. I've had to sit there and camp out over a shield and at least on sections of 66 that still have traffic, I've had to safeguard it. The worst one was the sidewalk highway near Athens in Oklahoma. I just had to take some rocks that I found around the area and paint them orange and then leave them. I don't know why this stuff would not dry on that segment. When the cold weather dries, like within a few seconds, I don't understand it. When I do my next repaint, I'm going to go ahead and acquire a professional airless paint rig. I won't have any more issues at all, and I'll be able to use my paint by building and I can mix it and cut it and do whatever I want. Come up with whatever formula I like, and it'll last a lot longer and look a lot better too. Are
you looking for any kind of help from anybody on that? Are you running any kind of fundraising or anything? Or
a sponsorship from somebody would be cool. I won a contest back in 2009 or 10. I won a Phillips 66 contest, which gave me right around $2,500 in free gas. And I used that entire amount just on doing Route 66 stuff back and forth, mostly painting the shields. That was pretty cool. It'd be nice to get some sort of sponsorship at some point, or even better, it'd be nice to have enough communities get together and buy these stencils. They can paint them themselves. They can paint a lot more of them too. Just people love these shields. They see them popping up all over the place with people laying down next to them, and pretty girls posing with them, and cars parked next to them, and just all sorts.
We always take pictures of our dogs with them.
Yeah, see, people with their pets, and people really like them. They're kind of, in my impression, I'm not the first person to do this. I'm probably the first person to do it from east to west, but the way that I interpreted it the first time I saw it was I thought it rolled out like a welcome mat. I thought it was awesome. The first time I saw it was coming into Kansas sometime in the early 2000s, and I wasn't quite sure where I was at. I had a little bit of my map started, but I didn't have GPS at that time, so I was kind of thumbing through and clicking through as I was going on the map, and it was really, really guessing. And I thought to myself, I think I'm on it. It was really late at night, and then I rolled up on one of those shields, and I said, that is just the coolest thing. Somebody actually painted Route 66 on the road, and that stuck with me. It still sticks with me. I think the culprit behind that was Dean Walker. He's better known as Crazy Legs out of Kansas. He's the guy that inspired the Tometer character.
Oh yeah, moving backwards.
Yeah. I think he's the culprit behind painting the shields in Kansas. It's just little things like that. For example, that will inspire people. You just never know what your actions will inspire. So that's why rolling that back into the icon thing. You just never know. What somebody does will be later interpreted by somebody else and inspire them to do something great. That's what I think really makes an icon.
And that's Dean. What was his name? Dean. What did you say last name was? Dean. Crazy Legs.
Dean Walker.
Dean Walker. Yeah. That's Melba Rick was showing us a picture. He's her friend, isn't he?
Yes. Yeah.
And she's another person who's becoming an icon, and her nickname is, she calls herself the Mouth. She says everybody calls her the Mouth.
She's quite a dancer.
Yeah, and she is fun to talk to. when you go in. And it used to be 4 girls on the route. Now it's cars on the route in Galena, Kansas.
That's right.
And somebody else, one of the first people we made friends with, he's not very well known, is Larry Tamminen, Super Tam on 66.
Yeah.
A little ice cream shop he started up. And he's got some interesting ambitions in Carterville, Missouri. He wants to make a little trolley into like a little diner. There's a trolley that ran between, I guess, Carterville and downtown Joplin.
Yep.
And when you pass between Carterville and there's not a lot of country distance between there, but Carterville and Webb City, you'll see the abutments along the road alignment for the trolleys. They used to go back and forth, I guess, on overhead trestles.
That's right.
And I mean that's another thing. I'm a rail fan, and I know somebody else who is Blue Swallow Motel.
Ken?
Yeah, I'm horrible with names.
It's okay.
I have them, I know them, but
It's not Ken, it's Kevin Mueller. Sorry.
Kevin Mueller. Yeah, that's right.
Sorry.
Actually, I think we're both bad with names because it's Mueller.
Mueller or Mueller?
I think it's Mueller.
I think it's Mueller.
I think who is it? Well, maybe we have to ask them because I saw somewhere he said actually it's Mueller.
It's spelled out Mueller.
Yeah.
If he pronounces it Mueller, then
I think
okay.
I think everybody does that to him. They just are used to it. But I think I saw somewhere, and we have to ask him because don't quote me on that. But I think it's actually Mueller. But he loves trains, and every Christmas he decorates the lobby of the Blue Swallow Motel with a train set. And I know he loves trains because they ride out on their motorcycles and they take pictures of trains along the way, or I think he does. And if that's another interesting hobby. But I noticed everywhere you go on Route 66, there's some beautiful scenery where the trains pass along the alignment, and that's probably also part of the history of Route 66 is that those old roads pretty much followed the railroad alignments.
It's the original ones, yeah.
And I know Suyen, my wife's name is Suyen. I've got her hooked on it somewhat. I mean, it's still mostly my hobby. She's kind of sometimes a Route 66 widow, among other things. But we've gone along the route and paced trains along the way, and I'm like, get the video camera out, and try and catch that as we're going alongside. We're just like cruising alongside a train and shooting video of it, and beautiful scenery in the background, especially in the Southwest. Some of the most beautiful parts of the United States, I think.
And you're from Kansas City?
Yeah. And you're from St.
It's fun. I was from St. Yeah, it's fun to visit out there, but I couldn't imagine living out there. I gotta have trees.
Oh,
I'm a tree guy.
There's trees here in Kansas City. Or are you talking
I'm
about?
talking about Southwest.
Southwest.
Flagstaff is beautiful. I love Flagstaff.
Oh yeah, Flagstaff is beautiful. Williams, Arizona is beautiful too.
Yeah, it is.
And they have trees. What's that? Arizona is actually called the Colorado Plateau that the Grand Canyon kind of cuts through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the eastern part of Arizona around another couple of great landmarks around Holbrook, Arizona with the Wigwam Motel, and what am I thinking of? Joseph, Arizona with the Jackrabbit Trading Post,
Right.
and then the La Posada Hotel and Winslow, Arizona, standing on the corner. That area is pretty much desert, and you get the painted desert, but when you get into that area with that, it kind of becomes really flat, very much desert there. And then you start slowly getting up higher in elevation, and next thing you know, you're in mountainous area with trees, and that's Flagstaff and Flagstaff and Williams, and then you come out of it and you're back in the desert, Kingman, Arizona.
Yeah, all the way to San Bernardino.
Yes, really. And that's historically, that's some of the worst, most desert-like. Like, people would die out there if they ran out of gas.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I go after. I try going after the early routes of what people had to take in the 19-teens and 20s, and some of the stuff prior to Route 66. I just want to know what it was like to try to chase the West Coast, not knowing anything. I want to try to recreate and duplicate that feeling, and I thought, how cool would it be one day to try to do it in a Model A or something and go cross country and really just try it, see what happens. Just try to go back without any air conditioning or any cell phones, any modern conveniences, and just see what it's really, really like. And it's probably a really humbling experience. I've tried to do that a little bit in my truck. Many nights I'll sleep in the back of my truck, and it's just faster and easier. Some people are like, how can you sleep in the back of your truck? Actually, I prefer it over going into a motel because I get more exploring, and that way I don't have to haul luggage in and out. As soon as the sun comes up, I'm awake.
I hate checking in into in and out of motel rooms. It kills so much time. And plus, if you're doing more of a camping thing, you get into the genuine thing that you're talking about, but also, sorry, I got all sorts of noise going on around my place. I got the clock and dogs barking and everything. Very informal. It's very distracting. But, when the sun comes up and you're camping out and you open the doors and there's the sun, there's nothing between you and, you get up and go for a walk, and I know exactly what you're talking about, the bird singing. I miss that. When you get married and have a family, you kind of make
some stuff everywhere.
Yeah.
It's a humbling experience, though, to get out there and just to go with no plan and say, I want to be the Jodes. I want to be on the truck with the Jodes. Go across country, not knowing what's going to hit me tomorrow. I don't think anybody can truly recreate that experience, but
that would be really humbling if you were like the Jodes and had to travel under those conditions, essentially being homeless. I saw the movie. I can't remember if I read the book, but they even had to bury a member of their family on the way, and you wonder, what's that?
Two of them.
Two of them, yeah, that's right. And you wonder when you're traveling in those areas if you might see that, a marker of one of those people that's maybe anonymous marker or something. You think about that.
But Grandpa was buried right at the Pony Trust Bridge at the Canadian River in Oklahoma, just near Bridgeport. I mean, he wasn't buried for real, but that was the site.
In the movie, yeah.
When they shot the video for the movie, that's where it was at. It was right after the bridge on the western side.
Yeah, that would be really humbling to think about. And oftentimes, they say humble is a great place to be. And you think about
that sure puts life in perspective for you.
Yeah, this country and all the people, the hardships that people went through, and how much we have grace in our lives that we can travel in air conditioning and comfort. But we're also losing something that they had. They had the contact with their fellow human beings. And sometimes when you talk about Route 66, it's traveling this old slower way versus the interstate highways. And when the highways bypassed Route 66, A lot of places like what's the name? A lot of these old towns started to fade away and die, and that's what kind of started Route 66 again as a historic thing. Was Angel said no, no, not my town, and he got together with some people. And now recently, and especially for kids, there was a great service done that there was a movie made in 2006 that everybody talks about. And now a lot of people are like, I want to go meet these people that are the characters in the movie, you know, the icons. I hear they based it off of real people, and it's like, well, yeah, but in many ways it's a composite of everything. Everything in that movie was a composite of different people and personalities and places.
Yeah, they didn't go the whole road either. It would have been nice if they had captured some of Kansas, Missouri, and they got a little bit of Kansas, I guess. Most of Missouri and Illinois, they pretty much left out.
Well, they did in composite in some ways. You can see glimpses, but I think maybe you're right, because I'm not sure if when they did the tour with Michael Wallace, when they were making that movie, if they hit the eastern end of it so much.
They didn't do any of the eastern end, I don't think. I don't know if they did anything at all.
Yeah.
They did pretty much from Galena to Los Angeles, and that was it. I'm not even sure how much they got into Los Angeles. I think they might have, gone as far as Amboy or something, and that was about it. Because once you get so far west, really, you get those big metropolises. There's not a whole lot to see unless you're really digging for it.
Well, when we got to Wigwam, Kumar's family's place in San Bernardino, it was very nice. It was very relaxing, and we got to just, relax. But we still hadn't hit LA. And the funny thing to us was that we had just traveled across what a lot of people would say is the most arduous part of the journey, which is through California, from Needles to San Bernardino. And then the next day we got up fairly early and we just headed for the pier, which is Santa Monica Pier, the end of the route. I guess the spiritual end of the route, because I don't think officially the route really did end there. But we were joking at the end of it that actually traveling across LA on Route 66 was more arduous to us than traveling across all of California, and it took longer.
Yeah, to get from the city wigwams to the pier, you would think it'd be like an hour drive. It takes like half the day. It's interesting the first time, but like when I go back out there, sometimes the end of the road for me is Kumar's place. And that's it. I turn around and go home.
Yeah. I guess they've done a little traveling off of the route. They went to was it India? And
yeah, Kumar just went to India. I think he's still there. I think he's gonna be there for another week or two.
That would be nice. But I haven't seen too many pictures, but I can imagine why. I imagine he's pretty busy there. It's kind of hard when you travel to keep a journal and a log. Speaking of which, you do that a lot too when you travel. You've been working on ways of trying to map it out and you said you'd like to erase all the technology out of your life, but you've actually been taking advantage of some high tech to do some of the things you're doing.
It's all in the name of efficiency, And honestly, if I didn't have people, like yourself or others like on Facebook, encouraging me and cheering me on and rooting for me, it would probably take a lot of the motivation out of it. And it would become one of those bucket list type things. So because I have so many people interested in what I do, where I go, it keeps me motivated, it keeps me going, and I love sharing it. I may not even be on Route 66. I'll find some of those spectacular finds, on some other road, and I'll share that on Facebook, and people are just as intrigued with that as they are with the Route 66 stuff.
Yeah,
so,
the stories that people tell when they're finding this stuff. We keep hearing this theme over and over and over again, and it's kind of a cliche now, but it's really true. It's not the destination; it's the journey. And when people set out on this route, maybe they decide they wanted to be in Disneyland in 2 days. Or is it Disneyland in Anaheim?
Yes, it is.
And it's like, if you're going to take Route 66, you're not going to make it, because it's going to take 2 days just to get across one state. We found, if you're doing it fast, and if you do it really slow, like you should, it's going to take you maybe a week per state, if that.
From where? From Kansas?
Well, not Kansas. Kansas is only like, 13 miles?
I'm saying a week to get across per state, or for the whole 66?
No, a week per state. Like, if you wanted to go across Missouri and you wanted to spend some time with at Cape Rita, and you wanted to spend some time in St. Louis, or, somebody we've been amiss in talking about, the two sisters and their assistant, Deborah, over in Boots Motel in Carthage. And speaking of Gary Turner, every time we went there, he would say, "You guys need to go to Red Oak." And we were like, "What is Red Oak?" And we never made it the first time, because the first time we saw Gary, everybody said that about Gary. You need to go see Gary Turner. So our first trip all the way across, well, from Kansas to the San Bernardino Pier, we ended the whole trip by stopping at Gary's, and we'll just spend an hour there. 6 hours later on Halloween, and I don't know how many soda pops and free soda pops. Don't need to let that out to everybody. Free soda pops and free candy and everything else later. And we're like, "Gary, we really got to go." And then we talked for another hour. And he said, "Before you go, you need to go see Red Oak. That guy is tremendous what he's done." And we thought he was talking about some little miniature town in a barn or something like that. And the way he was describing it is like this town that's been assembled here, and I don't know why we were thinking it was like some miniature thing, because when we finally made it there, he said, "You'll see it for a mile." I'm like, "See it for a mile?" And he gave us some directions, but actually his directions were pretty bad.
They are, I know.
And so we had to hunt around for it, and we made it to the street, and it's like, oh, he was not kidding. It's a town. It's a real town. This guy actually assembled a town in his backyard. And then,
it's a pretty neat place. I mean, yeah, to do all of Route 66, I've taken 6 weeks off and done the whole thing, and found that, probably to really do the whole thing, to really turn over all the stones and discover all the little nooks and crannies, if you're going to do it straight, you could, in theory, burn up as much as 3, maybe 4 months.
Wow. Yeah, that's true.
I mean, if you want to see it, back to my spectrum, you want to see the full spectrum, places, remnants, orphaned alignments, however you want to refer to them, places that aren't being used anymore, buildings, people, you want to see it all. Yeah, you're going to spend months on Route 66. It's going to take you.
Or, if you're not as hardcore about it, there's a lot of people who take it in tours or whatever, and they'll go down the highway and, oh, Route 66 is close to here, let's stop in. And there's a lot of places you can just pop in and say hi to people, and they love it. Like Midpoint Cafe is one of those places coming to mind in West Texas. I know a lot of people will. We kind of frown on this. Actually, I've called it breaking karma with the road, because I think you probably really, if you want to do it justice, you have to stay on the road as much as possible. And stay off the highway. But there's some people, they just don't have the time, but they're interested. And Kumar even said that. He's like kind of looking at me when I said that. He said, "You don't have to be such a purist about it."
Well,
there are times when I'm in a hurry to get.
I think, and they may just, they may be in infant stages.
Yeah.
Their interests. They may never reach anything beyond those infant stages.
Yeah.
But you can only digest so much when you first get started. So for some people, getting on and off the highway, maybe that's the thing to do. You got to think too that younger generation has shorter attention span.
Oh yeah.
Their parents were brought up on the interstate as well. I mean, my parents were practically brought up on the interstate, and so was I. So now that I have kids, and people just a little bit older than me have kids, those kids get older. They don't know about these old roads. They didn't know that's how it was done. So you're actually reformatting how they interpret travel across the United States. It's been pounded in our heads for the last 50, 60 years that traveling across the United States should be done as quickly and as efficiently as possible. So there's a little bit of a mindset there to overcome, and so the interstate can be your friend. A lot of people complain about the interstate that really don't know the full spectrum of 66. They said, the interstate killed these small towns and killed mom and pop and killed this and killed that. I mean, my answer to that is if it wasn't for the interstate, you wouldn't have Route 66. I mean, because there was a need. Something had to change. Infrastructure had to evolve. If they had done it right in place where Route 66 was, they would have eradicated it. It would be gone. And you would have nothing left. And your mom and pops and all that stuff was still being gone. As far as people dying on Route 66, I mean, sometimes it was just chance.
Yeah.
You got stranded in the middle of nowhere. You got the interstate skirted you 4 or 5 miles. You were done. Especially if you had no real town to speak of.
I don't know.
If you were near the interstate or within any small town or village, it's just business. To be honest, I'm a business owner myself, and
yeah.
If you don't evolve, you don't roll with the punches. You don't constantly reinvent yourself. You're gonna get left behind at some point.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't so much that the interstates killed Route 66. It was more progress killed Route 66 because I'm old enough to have memories of when the U.S. routes and man, when a U.S. route passed through a town and there wasn't a good bypass, you were stuck in traffic at some times during the day for a long time. And that was, my memories go back to the early 70s, and we did not have air conditioning in our cars then. A lot of people did, but we didn't. My dad didn't really like to buy cars that had that fancy stuff, even then. And if you're stuck in traffic and it's a bazillion degrees outside, and you're in those vinyl seats in your shorts, it's miserable.
Yeah, you're stuck to the car.
Yeah, those old bench seats.
I remember we had the same thing. We never had air conditioning car. When I was a little boy. I remember we got our first car with air conditioning. Man, it was something. It felt so good. Even when I was growing up driving myself, my first car was equipped with air conditioning. Of course, it didn't work, so I went for first 3 years of driving with no air conditioning.
I didn't really have air conditioning until 2002 in any car that I drove.
Wow, that's really good.
Because I was always buying used cars, and if it did have air conditioning in it, it was probably broken. And that's really expensive to fix. But I was talking to my wife when we were in Williams, Arizona. They had in the National Parks Guest Center, which is the train station. Of course, I'm a rail fan. I have to check that out. I've stopped there. They had a guest book, and share your memories of Route 66. And I felt bad because I didn't really have any. I was like, well, I remember when in 1973, when I was a little kid, we traveled cross country on U.S. routes. That's similar. And then I was talking to my sister middle of January, and she said, oh, yeah, we traveled Route 66. And I'm like, we did? Oh, yeah. Don't you remember? She started going through all these little things. We went to the Petrified Forest. You remember we did this? We went to the Grand Canyon on this trip. We saw Hoover Dam. And, we had to have traveled Route 66 to get up to a lot of that because that was the only road to go.
That's right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I do remember that. And we did it in a non-air conditioned car. It was, um, my dad always drove what was a 3-speed on the column. I believe one time we had a 66 Chevy Chevelle Malibu, and we traveled cross country in a 67 Chevy Biscayne, which a lot of people haven't heard of that name. And that's another thing.
That's the lower model. You got Biscayne, you got the Bel Air, and you got the Impala.
Yeah, and we always had the Biscayne, and I looked it up, and that's the one that was reserved for fleet cars.
Yes.
And my dad always bought things kind of like as cheap as he could, so he didn't have air conditioning, didn't have anything. It was the stripped down version. Straight 6, 3 on the tree.
Got you there.
And I guess you collect some of those cars too yourself.
Yeah, I've got a couple cars. I've slipped down a collection. I still own my first car, which is a Monte Carlo Super Sport. Yeah, just last year, about this time last year, I sold my '55 Chevy Bel Air hardtop 2-door. Just wasn't driving it enough. But
I saw that on Facebook. It looked like a beautiful car.
Yeah, it was a cool car, but it was time for it to be cool for somebody else. I have no problem shedding that kind of stuff. Now, the first car, it'll never go anywhere unless somebody were to offer me some ridiculously amount of money that doesn't exist. So
sentimental value.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. I used to hear the old timers talk about, oh, I still wish I had my first car. That car was so cool. I did this and did that. And I thought, I listened to that, and that soaked into me. I absorbed all that. And, so as a result, I still have my first car. I got it before I even turned 16. So I've had that car for almost 20 years now, and I'll have it probably another 20 years.
I'm not that fond of my first car. My first car was a Ford Pinto. It was.
You didn't blow up at least.
No, I did not blow up, but it was not extremely powerful. They came I don't think they ever made one with air conditioning. That model.
My dad had a Pinto for a little while. He called it our race car, I guess jokingly, and he only had it for a short time. I remember driving around in it. It was kind of neat because it had a hatchback. I thought that was really cool.
It could be a race car if you put a 289 in it. And I saw one in Hot Rod magazine, all souped up, and it's like a small, fairly light body, but the quality of cars in those days wasn't. The 70s wasn't a good time. Some people think they were, but they.
It wasn't a good time, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah, that's true too. And
I hate to do this to you.
That's.
I have to get going here. My wife has been bugging me on text messages, wanting to know where I'm at.
I understand. My wife has been staring laser beams at me too, and I know you have some sick young ones too, and I hope that I hope they get better soon because it's miserable in this weather to be sick.
Well, this is a really cool concept. This is fun. I like this. This is a new spin. This is a, when I tell people go your own way, I mean it. Go your own way, carve your own niche, do what you want to do because that's what I do, and it's been nothing but a door-opening experience for me. So, yeah, I think you should run with this. You never know, you might get a whole group of, quote, icons on here that just you rotate on and off on a weekly basis. You may end up getting 10, 20, 30, whatever, 100,000 subscribers in no time. This is a pretty cool concept. I like it.
Well, thank you very much. Hopefully it worked. I don't know if you've been watching the YouTube thing, which is always delayed, but it saves it fairly instantaneously. It's not always the best quality in the world, but it's sometimes you just kind of like you want to communicate. You don't necessarily need to have it in the best format. You just want it out there.
Well, it's cool. So you should pitch it to Nick Gerlich and a few other techie guys, and I think you'll get something rolling here. If you ever get Nick Gerlich, Scott Ackerman,
Jeremy?
Jim Ross, he's a good guy to talk with. Jeremy Flanagan, any of those guys.
Yeah.
If you were to walk them through it, maybe you show them a little bit of this broadcast, I think you'll get a pretty good response out of it.
Yeah, and I don't know if you noticed, but I managed to somehow get you moving. You're no longer a still picture.
I saw that. Yeah, we still got that 15-second delay right there. So that's pretty cool. Next time I'll be dressed more accordingly. We're at 66 growth.
Yeah, well, I got that on. I just realized I'm so informal. I'm basically wearing my pajamas. I didn't want to go out today, but I have a big truck that I have to fight with outside. I should be doing that.
All right, I gotta go collect some firewood and heat my house up, and I will catch you later.
All right, thank you very much for doing this with me.
No problem. I'll see you.
All right, talk to you later.
Bye.